A game like GTA San Andreas doesn't seem like a first pick when you're thinking of a cozy and comfortable game to play while you turn off your mind and forget about the real world. In fact, it's probably not even amongst the top 100 games you'd ever think to put on a list of such games. Mainly because we're talking about an open world sandbox game where you can go on non-stop rampages and shootouts with the cops across an entire state. A normal person would probably pick something like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, or even this cute game that's kind of like GTA, where you play as a cat and wreak havoc in the city, but to a much smaller scale. In fact, why would I pick GTA San Andreas in particular when there are 15 other games in the same franchise, all of which allow you to do the same thing, just in a different city, with a wide selection of time periods, protagonists, and even the graphics and camera angle. I mean, why not pick GTA 2 or GTA 3, especially during foggy weather, which basically turns the game into Silent Hill. Okay, maybe my definition of cozy is different than yours, but you get the point. While those are also solid choices, I feel like the PS2 version of San Andreas has a very unique feel to it that no other game in the franchise matches, because that particular art style and the lighting effects present on the PS2 version create the perfect atmosphere, and it's that atmosphere that plays the biggest role. I personally grew up playing GTA mostly on PC, and for San Andreas in particular, I would end up destroying my install with a billion mods. Mods that add in Bigfoot so I can finally hunt him down for real, and many others. Thanks to the modding community, we can also bring back that old PS2 era look to the PC version of the game. Playing the vanilla version of the original San Andreas is fine for a while, but with just a few adjustments, it becomes a much smoother experience. Part of it is to bring back the PS2 look that had the bright orange glow during sunsets, the haze and fogginess, and the heat waves effect that plays during extra sunny weather, which is another very iconic element. But I'd also recommend adding in a few mods that make the game friendlier with modern hardware, which are Silent Patch, Widescreen Fix. Additionally, you could also add another file called D-Input, which fixes any mouse issues that you can encounter. And I'd also highly recommend adding in Y-Axis Sensitivity Fix, which I didn't have installed initially when recording some of the footage. You'll very quickly notice how much better the game feels. I also like to unlock the frame rate from the settings and lock it to 60 using any external program of your choosing, because playing at anything past 100 FPS can and will break your game in a ton of different ways. It's very unfortunate that the game needs to be tinkered with in order to run smoothly on modern hardware, and also to restore the PS2 effects. But even if you decide to play the game fully vanilla, you're still going to have a much more pleasant experience than if you were to play the definitive edition of this game. I, like probably many of you, used to struggle with progressing through certain parts of the storyline as a kid. In my case, it was definitely a severe case of skill issue. So for the first few times I ever played this game, I would stick to wreaking havoc in just Los Santos and customize my CJ to no end. Since this game offers you tons of different clothing items, tattoos, hairstyles, special outfits, and CJ himself can have massive physical transformations, there are basically millions of different combinations you can create, transforming this game from a sandbox crime simulator into My Dress Up Barbie, or My Dress Up CJ, I guess. Not to mention the many other ways you can spend your time around the state of San Andreas thanks to the crazy amount of RPG elements that this game has, something that I've also talked about on a previous video, linked down below. But in essence, you can ignore the storyline completely and just spend your time increasing CJ's in-game stats like muscle, stamina, his lung capacity, driving, flying skills, or even his mastery of different weapons like the pistol, shotgun, or the M4. Besides aiding me as a kid when times were rough and allowing me to explore the entire map without running around constantly, the list of available in-game cheats contains a bunch of random and fun to mess around with side effects, like turning the map into a war zone, or replacing the entire population of San Andreas with people dressed as clowns and Clucking Bell employees. Or maybe even both at the same time, because why not? Nothing quite like fighting for your life whilst being chased around both by the cops and a bunch of escapists from Arkham Asylum. Another key element that makes this game a very cozy experience is the ambience and background noises that you can simply listen to in this game. You could seriously just drop CJ somewhere randomly on the map, maybe besides the restricted areas, and you could just sit back and enjoy your surroundings. I mean, just listen to some of it. This particular wind sound effect is probably the most recognizable one out of any game ever made. Even CJ's house has that weird and very creepy ambient sound. This made me sprint very quickly back and forth to the save marker in fear that I might encounter his mom's ghost. Don't laugh, you've also probably seen those 2007 creepypasta videos. Although my personal favorites are the waves and splash sounds that play when you're near a body of water. When you combine all of these elements together, the simple act of wandering around the map, whether you do it in a peaceful manner or not, carefully analyzing the hidden details that rocks are left around the map, becomes on its own a totally different manner of enjoying the game. You basically become a tourist of these fictional worlds. And despite this game being out for over 2 decades, I still sometimes discover new things about it, like this drive-thru confession church, which is located in Palomino Creek. This is a place that I've personally never noticed in the game up until a few months ago. It's not 100% working correctly, but NPCs can be seen stopping for a few seconds every once in a while, although on foot and not in cars. I've spent countless hours in places that are rarely visited within the story, like the Bayside area in San Fierro, which you can even access at the beginning of the game without a wanted level if you follow a very specific route when flying towards it. Although only about half of the area is accessible before you'll eventually become wanted. Not to mention these weird mountains placed right on the edge of the map, which suggests that there should be more to explore, but obviously the map has to follow the isolated island rule. As any other GTA game, and very well made open world game in general, simply just existing in a spot without interacting with the world around you doesn't put a halt to the environment. Random shootouts, arrests, and traffic incidents can still happen while CJ remains idle, or at least not directly taking part. The in-game radio stations also play a massive factor, since they have been curated extremely well and do a very solid job of transporting you into that early 90s atmosphere. I mean, many people pick up a random GTA purely just to drive around, some even go as far as trying to obey the traffic rules, which is something I can also relate to, and ignore everything else around them. Obviously, YouTube doesn't allow me to play you some of my favorite songs, but I can tell you that one of my favorite radio stations in GTA San Andreas is without a doubt K-Dust. This franchise has been incredibly consistent with picking not only songs that fit the time period of each game, but it also picks absolute bangers. Even a game like Liberty City Stories has a great selection of songs on the radio stations. I have no doubt that the radio stations in GTA 6 will also be packed with amazing songs. And since we are on this topic, what are some of your favorite songs from not just GTA San Andreas, but from any other game in the franchise? As well as some of your core memories of playing this game. Whether it was on the original PS2 version, the 25 FPS version on PC, or who knows, maybe your first experience of playing San Andreas was on the incredibly well-performing Windows Store version. Okay, maybe not that one. Let me know in the comment section down below, and while you're there, also leave a like. And of course, consider subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching.